Hello everyone, it's Wayne here from E-Stim Systems, and today I'm going to talk about how you choose a power box. We currently do 5 different units, and sometimes people get a little bit confused as to what each unit does, and they're not sure what to buy, so I'm going to try and help. Now, the first question I need to ask is, how experienced are you? Are you someone who's just looked at eStim and is thinking about getting into it? Or are you someone who has quite a lot of experience and knows effectively what they want? This really is targeted at people who don't really know what eStim is, or you vaguely know what it is and you want to know what the options are. If you fall into that category, then this video is designed for you. Next question I'm going to ask is this for you or is this for your partner? When I say, is it for you, we're talking about solo play. When I say, is it for your partner, we're talking about playing with another individual. Now, there are various ways of playing with eStim, and we are going to do some videos about how to actually play with eStim later. But at the moment, we're just talking about the basic power boxes and what the options are for you. The next question is going to be, how far do you wish to go? Now, when I say how far do you wish to go, most people will go all the way. And the answer is, yeah, I understand what you mean. But in terms of eStim, are you looking at something that's going to grow with you over time? Are you looking for something that basically you just want to have a play with and that's about it? There's a number of options there. The last question is going to be a really obvious one, and that is, do you have a budget? Our units run from around about the £100 mark, and they go well into 3 figures depending what you're looking to buy. The thing you need to remember when you're buying any form of eStim kit, particularly E-Stim Systems kit, or kit that is designed for eStim play. So I'm not talking about rebadged TENS units here. I'm talking about those companies like us who manufacture eStim for eStim. The kit's not cheap. It's a niche specialist product and it's expensive to produce. The other thing you need to look at is consider eStim as an investment. All of our power boxes come with a lifetime guarantee, and all of our power boxes are designed to grow with you. Even if you start at the lower end of the budget, the power box you buy will grow with your needs. And hopefully you won't outgrow them, but what you might find is you then supplement them in the future. So think of eStim as an investment. Now, a quick recap as to what eStim is. eStim is basically using electricity to stimulate the body in a safe and interesting manner. We're not all Frankenstein here. We're not connecting large crop clips to nipples, unsafe. But what we're doing is using a power box which generates a waveform, which generates an electrical signal, which you then apply to the body, and that then generates a sensation, and it's the sensation that you feel. The key thing here is everything is being done in a safe and controlled manner. A few terms that you'll find that we talk about. All power boxes have a number of channels. Now, a channel is effectively a control for an electrode. The electrode being the bit that actually gets applied to the body, either as an insertable or sticky pads or all sorts of things. And yes, there will be another video coming about electrodes quite soon. However, power boxes have channels. Now, our power boxes vary between having a single channel and dual channel. We don't at the moment go further than 2 channels, purely and simply because in our experience, it gets really complex to control, to wire people up. You end up with wires everywhere and it's not fun. We're not Frankenstein. We're not mad scientists, although sometimes we are. Having too many channels just gets really complex and you spend more time fiddling with knobs and less time paying attention to what you're feeling or what your partner's feeling than you should. So we do 1 or 2 channels. Now you might say 1 channel is really boring, but when you actually get to use 1 channel, and bear in mind we started off with the power box with a single channel, it's a revelation. Having just a single channel is not a limitation. Having 2 channels is better, but 2 channels does bring in some extra complexities. One of which is with 2 channels, there's 2 types of dual channel boxes. One is an isolated unit and one is a non-isolated unit. Having an isolated channel means there's no current that flows between the 2 channels. So if this is channel A and this is channel B, nothing flows between them. They are electrically, or in our case, galvanically isolated between the 2. If you've got a power unit that has 2 channels that aren't isolated, it doesn't mean to say they're unsafe. It just means it's a different way of playing. And if I go back to my little analogy of having my 2 channels, this is channel 1, this is channel 2, and they actually join in the middle. So you get a signal here and you get a signal here, but you will get some cross coupling across the two. It only becomes an issue when you're doing some quite advanced play and you need to have that isolation. With a single channel unit, the isolation is automatically there because it's a single channel. There's nothing else to connect to. One question we sometimes get asked is, can we use more than one box at the same time? And the answer to that is yes, you can, providing they're all battery powered, or if they are mains powered, they have isolation in there. That way, there is no connection between the two. So yes, you can use multiple boxes, and we know many people who do. Indeed, we do ourselves. It does mean you can add to your collection over time, and things get really interesting. Next thing we talk about are modes. Now, modes are the different ways that a power box can produce an output. They're not just a straight single burr or even a pulse. There are different ways of creating pulses. They can rise and fall depending on how you want them to operate. There's lots of options, and we go from having around about 5 modes in our base unit right up to 17 program modes and more in our 2B. So the number of modes gives you lots more options. The other thing to consider with power boxes is how do you actually control them? Now, there are power boxes out there who've started to use mobile phones to give you some options to control, but we've tended to stick with the sort of old school methods, and we use nice thick knobs, which work really well when you've got lubed up fingers. One of the reasons we know this is because we play with our power boxes, and a lot of our design features are actually designed around how we play. So if you've got lube on your fingers, you don't want to be picking up your expensive mobile phone and covering it in lube. It's not a great idea. But with our power boxes, you've got nice rubbery knobs that you can rotate, and that changes the value. There are still some push buttons to select modes, but generally you tend not to be selecting modes as much as you'll be changing the other controls, which is why we go for the knobs. They're much more tactile and friendly. Whilst we're on the subject of controls, we should also talk about the number of different adjustments that you can make. We can potentially have 5 or 6 adjustments per mode, depending on how far the mode is cycling, what levels it's running at, timings, all sorts of things. So the more adjustments gives you more options. Yes, if you have too many adjustments, it gets too complex. But what we've tended to do is we've tended to look at the defaults as being a good starting point and then allow you to experiment to find out what's working for you and obviously for your partner. So you've got the basic idea of what E-Stim does and the basic functionality of a few bits and pieces, but there's a couple of other things that come up. Some boxes have extra bits built into them, which are a little bit more specialized. What are they? Well, so we do an E-Stim remote, which has radio-based remote control, and it also has a built-in motion sensor, which makes things quite interesting. Basically, if you move the box, it'll trigger and you get zapped. A number of our boxes have audio inputs, which allows you to use sound to generate a sensation. Again, something that allows you to expand what you can do. Our top of the range 2B has the ability to plug into a PC or a Mac or a laptop of some description and allows you to control the 2B from your laptop, which means you can record sessions. It means you can control the unit across the internet. The last thing I'd like to mention is the fact that we have power boxes that run off batteries, and they run off standard 9-volt batteries. And a few people pop up and go, no, everything has to be rechargeable. Yeah, rechargeable is great, right up until the point where it goes flat. And then you've got to wait 2 hours for it to recharge. The primary reason we use 9-volt batteries in all of our power units is because it allows us to quickly change the battery out when things go flat. The 2B does have the ability to plug into a mains power supply, and we can supply you with the correct power supply. This maintains the safety element because we know, we've tested it, that this power supply works with the 2B and is safe to use, and it gives you a little bit more of a power boost when you're using it. But if you want something that's truly remote and doesn't actually have to be plugged into anything, then just run things off batteries and carry a couple of spares. Now, while you're considering E-Stim units, don't just consider the power box, consider the extra bits, consider how you're actually going to use them. Now, all of our E-Stim units come with all the basic bits you need to get started. So that's a power box, instructions, cables, sometimes more than one, and a set of basic electrodes, which would be the sticky pads normally. That gives you enough to get started. Generally, most people find they want to go a little bit further. They want to look at insertables. They want to look at cock play. So if you're budgeting for a purchase, consider what else you need to buy. If you are considering buying extras, then possibly have a look at a couple of the packs that we make. we actually do a couple of packs where you have a power box and you have a particular electrode bundled in, so you end up saving money. And don't forget, all of our power boxes come with a lifetime guarantee, which means if you do have an issue with them at any point in time, all you need to do is contact us, get them back to us, and we can do a repair. It's that simple. So I'm now going to talk about some of our power boxes. The first one I'm going to mention is the ElectroHelix. Now, this is effectively the box that we started the business with, upgraded, because the first box we ever created with a Series 1, and we don't do the Series 1 anymore. What we did was we took Series 1 design and upgraded it and created the Helix. Put some more power into it, put some more modes into it, and that is what we started with. It is a single channel unit. However, it's a single channel unit with quite a bit of oomph. You've got 5 program modes. You've got nice rubbery controls at the top. If you want something that as a starter unit, this is the unit I would generally recommend. It also comes as part of a couple of packs. The Helix Red comes with the power box and a electro egg. The Helix Blue comes with a set of cock loops. So you've got something that's insertable and something that can be played with on the cock. Next on the list is the ElectroPebble. Now, this is the ElectroPebble. The difference between this and the ElectroHelix is this is a dual channel unit, and this is a dual channel without the isolation. There is some crossover between the two channels, which does actually make things quite interesting. It's almost as if it has triphase built in. Triphase, what's that? That sounds complex. Well, there will be a video link up here somewhere about triphase and explaining what it is. You also have 9 program modes on here and built-in audio, so it gives you, again, a few more options over something like the ElectroHelix. Next, I'm just briefly going to move into some of the specialized items. We've got the E-Stim remote. Now, this is the E-Stim remote receiver. The transmitter's a little key fob and basically allows you to zap someone or control someone over a distance. Distance-wise, I think it's about 150 feet. It depends on the environment. We've had it working in dungeons, we've had it working in open fields, and it's actually longer than most people think. This also has motion sensor, so if it moves, it will trigger. And if you get bored and they're not moving enough, then you can trigger them anyway just by hitting the key fob. It also has built-in audio, so you can use sound to generate some sensation. Also on the more specialized front, we have the ABox. Now the ABox is basically a helix that runs from sound. So you can either plug a sound source into it or you can use the built-in microphone. The output can be quite interesting depending on what you listen for. One thing I will say is these are audio-based stim units and not stereo stimming. If you've come across the term stereo stimming in the past, basically stereo stimming is using an audio amplifier to generate some E-Stim sensations. They tend to be quite difficult to use and quite difficult to get right. The sound sources they're also using tend to be quite scratchy and noisy. It's almost like listening to a modem from the 1990s. It's not very nice from a tonal perspective. For us, because we designed these, or because I designed these based on how we would play, these are designed to use normal audio sources, so music, things that you enjoy listening to anyway. We've just taken it to the next level and actually produced something that you feel as well as hear. I love it, but then I would because I designed it. Last but not least is the E-Stim Systems 2B. This is our top of the range power box. This is the one that everyone talks about, and we've been producing this since 2010, I think. So it's been out for a while, but it's still being expanded and still growing. You can, if you wish, plug a digital link into the end and plug it into your PC, which means your PC or your laptop can control this. Yes, it does work on Mac. And you can also control it across the internet. So if your partner's got a mobile phone, they can zap you whilst you're at home or whilst you're at work, depending on how you've connected it and configured it. The other nice thing about the digital link is it allows you to update the box. So as we come out with new firmware, and firmware is basically the program that's running inside the box, you get to have all the new features. And at the moment we have, I think we're up to 22 program modes, 2 audios. There's some nice new features in the new beta firmwares, and the firmware is free. You don't have to pay for the firmware. Yes, you have to pay for the digital link, and the digital link comes with the software that allows you to do the update. The actual firmware updates themselves are completely free. If you want more information about firmware updates, best place to go is to our E-Stim Systems user forum, and that's where we're chatting about them all the time. But this is the box that everyone raves about. 2 channels, 17 program modes on the standard. built-in audio, so you can plug in an audio source, even comes with a cable, built-in microphone, so you can just allow it to listen to the ambient noise. The microphone is controllable. It's not massively sensitive. If I stick it down here, it'll pick up me talking. It's more designed for you're playing music in the room and it picks it up. It can also be run off a power supply. The big difference between the 2B and the ElectroPebble is the 2B has dual channels and they're isolated from each other. So there is no electrical connection between the two channels. This does allow you to do more advanced play, and it gives you quite a few more options. So that's the basic 5 units we do. Now, a few answers for questions that crop up with these. All of these boxes are designed to be different. If they were all the same, it'd be really boring. But the thing is, if you've got something like a 2B and you've got something like an ElectroPebble, they are different units. They will feel different. Why do they feel different? Because that's the way we design them. Sometimes people assume that everything in a range is just going to be the same. It's not. These are all designed at different timescales and for different styles of play. ElectroHelix, simple, basic, but it's so powerful and it's so versatile. It's still, I'm going to be honest, one of the units that we tend to play with if we just want to have a quick play. ElectroPebble, brilliant if you're running with more than one electrode. Remote control, fantastic if the remote control element is what you're looking for. After all, it's the only unit we do that has radio-based remote control. ABox, getting a little bit specialized, but it's very, very good at doing audio-based play. And then we get onto the 2B. If you've got time to think about things, time to set things up, time to play, time to enjoy, the 2B is the way to go because it gives you that extra in virtually every way. It's got more power, more control, more options. It gives you more. The thing is, you have to spend a little bit more time working with it and understanding how it works and understanding how things feel. And that's the other thing I will say. Whether you buy E-Stim from us, whether you buy E-Stim from anywhere else, experiment with it. E-Stim is never going to be like a vibrator where you just switch it on and go, have you come yet? No, E-Stim doesn't work that way. E-Stim is highly dependent on how you use it, where you're using it, who you're using it with. It's got so many options. It's got so much versatility. I don't know why everyone isn't using E-Stim. Well, I do, because people just don't understand it. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help people understand what E-Stim does, what E-Stim can do for you. We try to be a little bit different. We design all of our units ourselves, and they're based on our experiences as players. So anyone you talk to us on the support lines are people who actually use E-Stim kit in their own play. We're not just trying to sell you a box. So before you go any further, I could say go rushing to the website and quick order everything. No. If you've got any questions, please take time to look at our website. Please take time to look at our videos. And if you're still stuck, or if you just want to ask questions, please leave comments in the comments below. We will do our best to answer them, and we will do our best to help. And hopefully, whatever happens, you're going to find a new light on your E-Stim journey. Don't forget, this is one of those YouTube videos, so please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and consider the old thumbs up, YouTube likes, all that sort of thing. But whatever you do, please be safe and have fun. I'm Wayne. I designed all this. Thanks for watching. Bye.